Welcome back. We've been mapping out this whole self-concept idea,
Yeah.
building that target, humble self-concept, and
Yes.
even going back and kind of
Yeah.
reframing those old memories.
Right.
But now I think it's time to see how it works
Yeah.
in the real world.
Yeah, it is. It
It's
is.
like finally getting behind the wheel after driver's ed.
Oh, that's a great analogy. I like that a lot.
All that knowledge is great, but
Yeah.
until you're out there in traffic.
Exactly.
So in step 5 of the humble self-concept method.
Well, we're shifting from theory to practice. And that's a great way to think about it.
Okay.
We're taking all that work we've done
Right.
on crafting that THSC and trying to make it a lived experience.
Okay, so less thinking about it and more actually using it.
Exactly.
So what does that look like?
Well, step 5 challenges us to actively frame every new experience through the lens of our THSC.
Okay, so everything.
Yes.
Even
Even the
mess.
stay comfortable ones.
Okay, so even that moment when you accidentally call your boss mom.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Because remember, the foundation of the THSC is that inherent worthiness, that sense of self-value that exists regardless of our successes or failures.
Right.
So even when you have those cringe-worthy moments,
Yeah.
the slip-ups that make you want to disappear, the THSC reminds you, okay, I messed up, it happens, I'm still worthy, and I can learn from this.
Oh, okay, so it's not about denying those feelings of embarrassment or guilt,
Exactly.
but changing how we react to them.
Right. Instead of spiraling into self-criticism, the THSC helps you approach those feelings with a sense of self-compassion. It allows you to say, this doesn't define me. It's simply a data point in the larger story of my life.
So consistently viewing everything good and bad through the THSC lens sounds like a lot.
It's a big challenge.
What's the payoff for all that effort?
Well, I think the payoff is really about building confidence in your ability to navigate the present and shape a future that's aligned with your values. And that, in turn, brings some incredible benefits.
Wow.
For one, imagine a life where your sense of worthiness isn't constantly fluctuating based on external validation.
Oh, yeah.
That's what the THSC aims to achieve.
Right.
It's like building a solid foundation for your self-esteem.
Okay.
One that can weather the storms of life's inevitable ups and downs.
So less roller coaster, more steady ground.
Exactly. The THSC, when consistently applied, helps you cultivate what we call validation abundance.
Validation abundance. Remind me about that.
Sure. It means your sense of worth doesn't come from achieving certain things or gaining approval from others. It's about knowing your value inherently, regardless of external factors.
So instead of needing constant praise to feel good,
Yeah.
you have this internal wellspring of self-worth.
Exactly. And this shifting perspective has a ripple effect on how you approach everything.
Okay.
For example, challenges that used to feel like threats to your ego now become opportunities for growth.
Because even if you don't succeed,
Right.
you haven't lost anything fundamental about yourself.
Right. The THSC empowers you to take risks, try new things, and step outside your comfort zone without the crippling fear of failure. It's about knowing that your worth isn't on the line with every decision you make.
This is starting to feel really empowering.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
But why is it so essential to reframe our entire past through this THSC lens?
Yeah, that's a great question.
We already spent time addressing those memories in step 3.
We did.
Right.
And it's a crucial part of this process.
Okay.
Because even though we've consciously worked on reframing past memories in step 3,
Right.
those experiences, especially the negative ones, often continue to shape our present self-concept in subtle ways.
Okay.
It's like carrying around invisible baggage from the past.
You mean like those lingering feelings of guilt or shame from situations?
Exactly. We might think we've dealt with those past hurts.
Right.
But often they linger beneath the surface, influencing how we see ourselves in the present.
So we might intellectually understand our THSC and even apply it to present challenges.
Yeah.
But those old, unprocessed emotions are still holding us back.
Precisely. Reframing our past through the lens of the THSC is about revisiting those old stories with compassion and understanding. It's about acknowledging that the person we were in those past experiences was doing the best they could with the information they had at the time.
So it's not about erasing the past or pretending it didn't happen.
No.
But rather reinterpreting it
Yes.
with a kinder, more understanding perspective.
Exactly. By looking back with the wisdom and self-compassion of our THSC, we can release some of that emotional baggage and create space for a more accurate and positive self-concept to emerge.
Yeah. So like those old photo albums we have
Mhm.
tucked away,
Yeah,
we can look back at them
right.
with a new understanding,
Exactly.
appreciating how far we've come
Yes.
and recognizing that the past doesn't define us.
And that's the key. The past doesn't define us. It's part of our story,
Yeah.
but it doesn't dictate who we are today.
So by reframing our past,
Mm-hmm.
we're not trying to change what happened.
We're not changing the event.
We're simply choosing to see those events
Exactly.
through a new lens.
Through a new lens. And that lens is the THSC.
Okay. But how does reframing the past actually work in practice?
Mm.
Let's say there's a specific memory that still triggers feelings of shame or regret. How do I apply the THSC to something that feels so deeply ingrained?
It starts with acknowledging those feelings without judgment. Remember, all emotions are valid.
Okay.
Instead of pushing them away, try to approach them with curiosity. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience?
Mm-hmm.
How has it shaped me? And most importantly, how can I reinterpret this memory through the lens of my THSC?
So instead of getting stuck in the shame spiral,
Right.
I can ask myself, what would my THSC say about this situation?
Exactly. It's about consciously choosing to view the past from a place of self-compassion and understanding. Maybe in the past you judged yourself harshly for a certain decision. Now, with the THSC, you can recognize that you were doing the best you could with the knowledge and resources you had at the time.
It's almost like extending forgiveness to your past self.
Yes.
Recognizing that you've grown and evolved since then.
And that's a powerful act of self-love. By releasing the burden of past regrets, you create space for a more authentic and compassionate present.
So by weaving together our reframed past,
Mhm.
our THSC-informed present,
Yeah.
and our hopeful future,
Yes.
we're creating a more cohesive and empowering self-narrative.
Precisely. It's like we're taking those seemingly disparate pieces of our story and assembling them into a beautiful mosaic. Each piece, even the ones that once felt broken or jagged, contributes to the overall beauty of the artwork.
That's a great visual. It really emphasizes that all of our experiences, both positive and negative, have shaped us into the individuals we are today.
And the THSC helps us to see the value in each of those experiences.
Yeah.
It allows us to embrace our complexities,
Yeah.
imperfections, and all.
This is starting to feel really profound.
It is a profound shift.
It's not just about changing our thoughts, but about fundamentally shifting how we see ourselves and our place in the world.
And it's a journey, not a destination. There will be times when you slip back into old patterns of thinking, when those negative thoughts and self-doubts creep in. But the key is to recognize those moments without judgment
Okay.
and gently guide yourself back to the THSC.
So it's about cultivating that inner awareness,
Yes.
that ability to observe our thoughts and feelings
Yes.
without getting swept away by them.
Exactly. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. It's like strengthening a muscle.
Okay.
The more you use it, the stronger and more resilient it becomes.
I think a lot of people, myself included,
Yeah.
might feel overwhelmed by the idea of constantly applying the THSC.
I understand that.
It sounds like a lot of mental work.
It can feel that way initially,
Yeah.
but remember, the goal is not to be perfect, but to be progress-oriented. Every time you catch yourself slipping back into self-criticism or doubt, it's an opportunity to practice bringing yourself back to the THSC.
So it's about celebrating those small victories.
Yes.
Those moments when we choose self-compassion over self-judgment.
And those moments will become more frequent and easier to access with practice.
Okay.
Remember, you're rewiring years of ingrained thought patterns. It takes time and patience.
Self-forgiveness plays a big role in this process too.
Absolutely. We need to be kind to ourselves, acknowledging that we're all works in progress.
Mm-hmm.
We all make mistakes. We all have moments of doubt, and that's perfectly okay. The THSC helps us to embrace our imperfections
Yeah.
and see them as opportunities for growth.
In a world that often emphasizes perfection and achievement, it's so easy to get caught up in self-criticism and comparison.
It is. It's so easy to fall into that trap.
The THSC offers a powerful antidote to that mindset.
It does. It invites us to step off the treadmill of constant striving and simply accept ourselves as we are, flaws and all.
This whole conversation is making me think about how our relationships with others are impacted by how we view ourselves.
That's a great.
If we're constantly battling with self-doubt,
Yeah.
that's going to show up in how we interact with the people around us.
You've hit on a crucial point. The way we see ourselves deeply influences how we show up in our relationships.
Okay.
When we're secure and confident in our own worthiness, we're more likely to approach others with compassion, empathy, and understanding.
So the THSC isn't just about personal growth.
Right.
It's about fostering healthier and more fulfilling connections with the people in our lives.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our well-being is interconnected.
Yeah.
When we cultivate a sense of inner peace and self-acceptance, it ripples outward, positively impacting our relationships and even the world around us.
That's a beautiful thought.
It
It's
is.
like we're all part of a larger tapestry, and the way we treat ourselves influences the overall pattern and vibrancy of the design.
Yeah, I love that analogy. It highlights the ripple effect of self-compassion. When we choose to see ourselves through the lens of the THSC, we're not just benefiting ourselves,
Right.
we're contributing to a more compassionate and understanding world.
This conversation has been incredibly insightful.
It's been a pleasure.
I feel like I'm starting to grasp the true depth and transformative power of step 5.
It's a powerful step indeed. It's where the real magic happens, where the THSC moves from a concept to a lived experience, shaping our thoughts, emotions, and interactions in profound ways.
As we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how listeners can start integrating step 5 into their daily lives.
Okay.
What's one concrete action they can take to begin putting this into practice?
I'd encourage listeners to choose one specific situation in the coming week where they'll consciously apply the THSC.
Okay.
It could be a challenging conversation they're dreading, a task that triggers self-doubt, or even just a moment of quiet reflection.
So they're setting an intention to approach that situation through the lens of their THSC.
Exactly. Before going into the situation, take a moment to remind yourself of your inherent worthiness. Visualize yourself responding from a place of self-compassion and understanding.
It's almost like creating a mental script beforehand,
Yeah,
so you're prepared to react differently than you might have in the past.
that's a great way to think about it. By consciously choosing to apply the THSC in even one specific situation, you're starting to build that muscle of self-awareness and compassionate self-talk.
It's like planting a seed.
Mm-hmm.
With consistent nurturing, it will eventually blossom into a more resilient and self-accepting way of being.
Precisely. And as you experience the benefits of approaching situations through the THSC,
Yeah.
you'll be more motivated to continue practicing and integrating it into other areas of your life.
It's like creating a positive feedback loop.
Exactly.
Each time you experience the power of the THSC, it reinforces your belief in its effectiveness
Mm,
and motivates you to continue on this path of growth.
that's a great way to put it. Step 5 is about embarking on a journey of self-discovery and transformation. It's about moving from a place of self-doubt and criticism to a place of self-compassion and acceptance. And it's a journey that's well worth taking.
I think that's a really valuable takeaway, starting small, focusing on one specific situation where we can consciously apply the THSC.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about building momentum.
Right.
Those small, intentional acts of self-compassion pave the way for larger shifts in our self-perception.
It's like learning a new dance move. You wouldn't expect to master a complex routine, in one go.
That's a great
You
analogy.
start with the basic steps, practice them until they feel natural, and then gradually build from there.
And just like with dancing, the more you practice applying the PHSC, the more fluid and effortless it becomes.
This deep dive into step 5 has been truly eye-opening. It's amazing how much power we have to shape our own self-concept and our experiences in the world.
It is empowering, isn't it, to realize that we're not simply at the mercy of our thoughts and emotions, but that we can actively choose how we relate to them.
So to wrap things up,
Okay.
let's recap the key takeaways from step 5. We've talked about actively framing all new experiences, even the uncomfortable ones, through the lens of our THSC.
Yes.
We've explored the benefits of cultivating validation abundance, that sense of inherent worth that doesn't depend on external factors. And we've discussed the importance of revisiting our past with compassion, reframing those old stories to align with our THSC.
You've captured it perfectly.
Yeah.
And remember, step 5 is an ongoing practice.
Right.
It's not about achieving some kind of perfect state of self-acceptance,
Right.
but rather about continually choosing to view ourselves and our experiences with kindness and understanding.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought. What if just for this week, you committed to observing your thought pattern? Notice how you're framing your experiences, particularly those that trigger discomfort or self-doubt. And then gently see if you can bring the THSC into the picture. Even if it feels a little awkward at first, I think you'll be surprised by the shift in perspective it can create.
That's a wonderful challenge. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. We're all works in progress, all navigating the complexities of life and self-discovery.
Right.
The THSC is a powerful tool that can help us along the way.
Well said. And for those of you joining us on this journey of exploring the humble self-concept method, we'll be back soon to delve into step 6. Until then, keep practicing, keep growing, and keep embracing the amazing, complex individuals you are. It feels much more manageable than trying to overhaul our entire mindset, overnight.
Absolutely. It's about building momentum. Those small intentional acts of self-compassion, they pave the way for larger shifts in how we see ourselves.
It's like learning a new dance move.
Uh-huh.
You wouldn't expect to master a complex routine in one go.
Right.
You start with the basic steps.
Yeah.
Practice them until they feel natural, and then you gradually build from there.
That's a great analogy. And just like with dancing, the more you practice applying the THSC, the more fluid and effortless it becomes.
This has been truly eye-opening. It's amazing how much power we have to shape our own self-concept and our experiences.
It is empowering, isn't it?
Yeah.
To realize that we're not simply at the mercy of our thoughts and emotions,
Right.
but that we can actively choose how we relate to them.
So to wrap things up, let's recap the key takeaways from step 5. We've talked about actively framing all new experiences, even the uncomfortable ones, through the lens of our THSC.
Yes.
We've explored the benefits of cultivating validation abundance, that sense of inherent worth that doesn't depend on external factors. And we've discussed the importance of revisiting our past with compassion, reframing those old stories to align with our THSC.
You've captured it perfectly. And remember, step 5 is an ongoing practice.
Yeah.
It's not about achieving some kind of perfect state of self-acceptance, but rather about continually choosing to view ourselves and our experiences with kindness and understanding.
I want to leave you with one final thought. What if just for this week you committed to observing your thought patterns?
Okay.
Notice how you're framing your experiences, particularly those that trigger discomfort or self-doubt. And then gently see if you can bring the THSC into the picture. Even if it feels a little awkward at first, I think you'll be surprised by the shift in perspective it can create.
That's a wonderful challenge. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. We're all works in progress, all navigating the complexities of life and self-discovery. The THSC is a powerful tool that can help us along the way.
Well said. And for those of you joining us on this journey of exploring the humble self-concept method, we'll be back soon to delve into step 6. Until then, keep practicing, keep growing, and keep embracing the amazing complex individuals you are.